This is the hip crossover stretch. Have your client lay down in the supine position and then bring their legs up to the hook leg position, the knees bent. Have them bring their arms straight out to the sides, palms facing down. Sometimes it helps to spread the fingers out. Make sure everything is in line with the client, hips and knees and ankles and feet. Now have your client raise the right foot and put it across the left knee. Now rotate down to the ground so your foot is on the floor and turn your head towards your right arm. Now push the right leg away from using your right hip, and hold that position for 1 minute. Now rotate back up out of it and repeat this exercise on the other side. Called the crocodile. Have your client lay in the supine position with their arms straight out to the sides. You want the hips, knees, and ankles all in alignment and the feet about hip width apart. Now have your client take her right heel and place it between the big toe and second toe of the left leg, making sure that they keep the feet hip width apart and go over to the other leg. Don't bring them together and do it. Now using the right hip, rotate to the left and stack the right hip on top of the left. Hold that position for a minute. Oh, sorry, you gotta turn your head to the right, look this way. Now hold this position for a minute. Tightening your quads, making sure your quads stay tight. Your feet are flexed. Now rotate back. Now put your left foot over the right foot. Sometimes it would be beneficial to wear shoes doing this exercise. Now she'll rotate to the right, stacking the left hip over the right and looking towards her left hand. She'll hold this position for a minute, and this Ecise is called the crocodile. This Ecise is called the standing windmill. Have your client stand against a wall with her heels, butt and back against the wall, fit hip widths and facing straight forward. Arms straight out to the side, elbows locked, and at a 90-degree angle. You'll keep this position throughout the movement and throughout the entire exercise. You will bend the torso down to one side, making sure this opposite hip stays on the wall. Back up pass through center and down to the other side. We'll repeat this with this hip foot position 5 times, and then move on to the next position. The second position in this will be to spread your feet 1.5 feet apart. Make sure you maintain the feet facing straight forward, and make sure your abs are relaxed, you're breathing normally. And repeat the process again. Bend down to one side, pass through center, and back to the other side. We'll repeat this 5 times as well. The next position is to place your feet 2.5 feet apart, and repeat the same exercise as before. It's important that you keep this relationship of 90 degrees throughout the entire movement. For the final position, you will return your feet back to the original starting position of hip width. Arms out to the sides, elbows locked, and repeat this one more time for 5 repetitions. This is called the standing windmill. It's good. This Ecise is called standing arm circles. Have your client stand with your feet hip width apart and facing straight forward, a little bit more narrow. Small hips. Have her stick her hands arms out to the side, straight from her shoulders, and put her hands in what's known as golfer's grip, with the tips of your fingers on the pads of your palms. Then you will rotate forward and up with about 6-inch circles. The important thing of this exercise is to make sure your shoulders are down and you're squeezing back into your scapular as you're doing it. You'll want to activate your back. We'll repeat this 40 times, forward and up. Okay, you can stop. Now maintain golfer grip. Turn your palms facing up, shoulders down and squeezing back. Now up and back for 40 times as well, or whatever is recommended on your menu. and this is called the standing arm circles. This Ecise is called the static extension. Have your client get down on all fours, hands under elbows, elbows under shoulders, and knees under hips. Back that up a little bit. Okay. Have your client move their hand about a hand length or 4 to 6 inches forward, and then readjust their positioning so their shoulders and elbows are directly over wrists. Put an arch in the back, or sway like the sway back horse, and let your head hang. You want to do here is let yourself collapse down through in the shoulder blades here, and hold this position for 1 minute. Elbows locked, very important position. Have your client hold this position for 1 minute. This is the static extension. This Ecise is called the upper spinal floor twist. Have your client start in a fetal position with their feet at 90 degrees, their legs bent to 90 degrees and 90 degrees at the hip. Make sure that their shoulders are stacked on top of each other, straight here, and not this one jutting out. So once you get that kind of straightened out, have your client open up like a book, following along with her hand with her gaze. Have your client take her opposite hand and place it against her thigh here or the front of her knees to make sure this hip isn't slipping this way and causing it falsely to go to the floor. Hold this position for a minute and then close it back up to the starting. After your client closes up the position, have her turn over to the other side and repeat this Ecise for 1 minute on her right side. That's the upper spinal floor twist. This Ecise is called the assisted hip lift. Have your client lay down on her back with her feet up on a wall, hip width apart and facing straight up. You cross your right knee over your right ankle over your left knee, making sure not to switch off to the side and keeping your spine in alignment, your arms and shoulders relaxed. Have your client push away with the right knee towards the wall and hold this position for 1 minute. You have to make sure that their hips don't shift and they maintain that alignment in the spine. Switch over to the other leg and repeat, pushing away towards the wall. This Ecise is called the assisted hip lift. This Ecise is called downward dog. Have your client start on her hands and knees with her palms below her elbows and shoulders and her knees below her hips. Tuck your toes and press up into a piped position. Make sure that you have your weight, pressure on your hand and index finger in the front, and you're bringing your weight towards the back. You want your arms to be, in line with your ears and to get a small arch in your lower back as you let your heels drop towards the floor. If the heels can't get towards the floor, it's still beneficial to move back towards your feet, move your weight back past your hips and let it settle in there. Hold this for 1 minute, or as your Ecise suggests, and this is called downward dog. This exercise is called supine foot circles and point flexes. Have your client lie on her back with one leg extended and bring the other leg up to her knee, or up to her chest, and clasp behind her knee. If you can keep this at 90 degrees, that's wonderful, but if it is making the traps come into play or pulling their shoulders off the ground, it's okay to pull them back a little farther here, as long as the shoulders are relaxing and slight scapular engagement. You're going to make sure that the extended legs facing, the toes are straight towards the ceiling, not turned out to the side. And then have your client rotate her foot that is clasped out to the side 40 times, or as suggested in the Ecise menu. After she's completed the number of reps outward, you'll circle the foot inward for the same number of reps. And then have her do point flexes. So she'll point to extend, and then she'll pull the toes back towards her shin and point to extend, and do that for the number of reps suggested on your menu. After she has completed this exercise, make sure she repeats the same thing on the other leg. Go ahead and pull it up. Once again, check her alignment and make sure her extended leg is straight towards the ceiling and there's not a stress in her neck and her shoulders aren't reaching forward. Repeat the same number of repetitions on this side, and this is called supine foot circles and point flexions. This Ecise is called air bench. Have your client stand up against the wall with her feet and knees hip width apart and her back against the wall. Have your client walk down the wall, bringing her feet out in front of her as she slides her back down the wall until she's about at 105 degrees here. You would push your back flat against the wall, let your arms hang, or let them rest in your lap, whichever is more comfortable, whichever they prefer. If your client starts to feel any pain in the low back or in the knees, have them raise up the wall a little bit, raise up a little bit, and stay right there. Relax your stomach and hold this position for 2 minutes or whatever is suggested on your menu. This is called air bench.